What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are reviewing the TOPO Athletic Runventure 4. It is a new shoe out. It's had some exciting upgrades from the previous version, and I think this might be one of the most impressive minimalist barefoot style trail running shoes I have ever worn. So without further ado, let's get into it. So to give a quick overview to this brand, TOPO Athletic have been doing this Runventure series, which is fairly popular among trail runners if you're looking for a minimalist barefoot shoe. Closest in comparison would be the Ultras. The Runventure 4 is the latest in the series and boasts some pretty impressive upgrades. It is designed for those who seek a lightweight and responsive shoe with plenty of ground feel and traction, so you're really getting the best of both worlds from the kind of barefoot minimalist style with a bit of a sole that allows you to grip and not allow those stones to really stab into your feet. I will compare this to the Runventure 3 just to highlight some key upgrades and features of this one, and most importantly, I have been running in this for the last 3 months and I've done well over 100 miles, hence the muddy, tattered nature to this shoe, but I can really give you a good insight into how this feels on the trails and how it works, and we will get to that shortly. So before we get to the performance, let's talk about design and aesthetics. This shoe comes in 2 colour combinations as far as I can see on the website. You have this one, which is the bright neon yellow with a black sole, and then you have a version which I believe is called the rust colour, which is like a brown, rusty red, orange. I'll be honest, neither of the colours I particularly like. I picked this one because the other colour is quite disgusting. This one stands out a lot. I don't mind that so much, and actually once you've worn it a few times, the yellow starts to die down with all the mud. But yeah, if they did a few other colour designs, that would make me a bit happier. But other than that, the actual aesthetic of the shoe, I like. It looks nice and sleek. It's got a 0mm drop, so you kind of get that flat look, which you get with most of these kind of barefoot minimalist shoes. And yeah, it's not the ugliest shoe in the world. I quite like it. Okay, so let's talk fit and comfort. Now, this shoe has a medium volume fit from heel to toe. And as the rest of TOPO Athletics shoes, that really does give it this nice, snug feel around your midfoot and the heel. The heel like kind of capture, or the heel lock, really is good. You don't get that with a lot of barefoot shoes. I've worn lots and lots of barefoot minimalist type shoes. Most of them, because they focus on the flexibility and the ground feel, they forgive a lot of that connection to the shoe, so your heel quite often slips out the back and this midfoot becomes really wide, so the shoe feels like it's really loose and moves around on your foot, which is fine kind of day to day when you're walking around in them, but when you're doing longer distance trail runs, that can start to lead to blisters and stuff like that. So this is a rarity to find that kind of really good comfort, snug fit without compromising on the toe box. So that is the next feature on this. It still has that really wide toe box. I've got particularly wide feet, and I think this is perfect. If you were newer to wearing minimalist shoes, you might not have that wide of a foot. So if there's anyone there with a sleeker, slightly smaller foot, you might find this toe box a little bit wide. That's the only thing I would say. And that's kind of what I've read from some of the reviews on the website as well. But for me, as someone who likes wearing this type of wide toe box shoe, it is perfect. It fits true to size. I bought a 12. That's what I wear in pretty much all of my shoes. And this was bang on. I don't see any need to go up or down half a size at all either way. You obviously individually that might change, but generally I think this fits true to size. So the Runventure 4 is made of this durable tight-knit mesh, which then has a protective overlay, as you can see, that wraps around the toe nicely there. It also comes and wraps around some of the other parts of the shoe. So the material is breathable and is meant to have some water resistance. I can confirm that it is. If you're running through kind of damp, wet grass, these actually do a pretty good job of keeping the water out to an extent. They are not waterproof, they're not Gore-Tex, which I prefer. And when we talk about waterproofing, I quite like shoes to allow the water in and allow it out, because when you do inevitably get soaked, like you're wearing a trainer, at the end of the day, the water's going to go in the top if nowhere else. I want the water to be able to escape so that I'm not running around with massive size 12 full of water all day. So this shoe does quite a good job of that, even though it has this wrap around here that stops some of the water coming out the front. It does a pretty good job of squeezing all the water out of the mesh and out of the sole. So actually, and you'll see in the video, I tested this on my run. I actually took them into the river, got them fully submerged, and then ran the last mile all the way home, just to make sure that they actually do get rid of the excess water and you're not running with what feels like weights on your feet. Another thing on this shoe is that it does feature gaiter attachments, which some of the TOPO shoes have negated. Most of them have it on. So this one has one on the front, two on the back, which is great if you like to wear gaiters with your shoes. It's just a handy attachment to be on there. To be honest, I don't like wearing them when I'm running, but if you do, you have the option. And finally, we will talk about this reinforced toe cap. This is particularly handy. I find it a real big issue when I'm wearing my kind of barefoot shoes, stubbing my toes all the time because I'm a big, clumsy size 12 oaf, especially when you're doing kind of mountainous trail runs. This comes in really handy. I have kicked, scuffed, and bumped the toes on this a whole bunch since wearing them, and it doesn't seem to be any wear. It's not coming away from the shoe, and I had a little worry where you see this red rubber that comes around from the base of the shoe. I did worry because that's not knitted on in any way, it's just glued on, and I worried that might start to pull off, but it hasn't. If it does, I will update the video and let you know. Other than that, yeah, this front portion, this kind of protective toe is really handy. It doesn't compromise from the comfort at all, so I think it's useful. Okay, so let's talk midsole. As I have already mentioned, we have a 3 density EVA material running through the midsole, which gives you your cushion and your ground feel. So that gives you that real responsiveness that I like in a barefoot shoe. And I find it is really responsive. If you run on the road in this, which I've done for portions because a lot of my runs go from road to trail, you do really feel like it's one of those faster shoes that really kind of kicks you up off the ground. Very similar to almost like a road running shoe. You actually feel quite fast in these with a 0 mil heel to toe drop. I wasn't actually expecting that speed off the floor, but these do really feel like they give you a bit of a kick, which is nice. And I would say that it provides just the right amount of cushioning through the heel so that when you're coming kind of downhill on these, especially these longer trail runs, you can actually use that heel, which you really struggle to do in a pure barefoot shoe. So I found that particularly handy. Running with this, I find the cushion in the heel is just about right, that it allows me to use my heels on the downhill portion, but not to the point where it's compromising, where I'm slamming my heels into the ground, and that then causes kind of more knee pain and hip pain for me. So it gives me that enough responsiveness to actually tell my body, yep, you've hit the floor, but not so much that I can't use my heels to come downhill. Finally, on the midsole, this shoe has an ESS 4-foot rock plate, and that really helps stopping those stones, like I spoke about earlier, going up through the shoe and into your forefoot, especially when you're trying to run at a bit of a faster pace, which is what I've been trying to do lately. It makes a massive difference. I was specifically looking for something with a rock plate so that I really didn't have to worry about that when I'm trying to cover ground quickly across these rocky trails. So that was a real added bonus for this shoe. And on to the outsole. One of the most significant upgrades to this TOPO Runventure 4 is that it has the Vibram XS Trek Evo outsole. That took some pronouncing. Essentially, they've partnered with Vibram to give you a really great sole. This thing is grippy from front to back. So it has some pretty good lugs running all the way through, which you want on a kind of trail running shoe. And you'll see in the video me going over some pretty wet ground, and I went specifically on a pouring down rainy day here in Wales so that you could see this thing performing on steep hills in the mud and on trees and on rocks. And it does really grip well on all surfaces. It has lugs running kind of both directions, so that it has at the back, the lugs essentially allow you to grip when you're coming downhill, so they dig into the ground, allow you to come downhill and stop slipping. That's one of the biggest things for me. When you're coming downhill fast and you start to feel your feet sliding down the hill and you can't stop yourself, that really becomes an issue. These do a really great job of gripping both directions, so when you're running uphill, the front give you a nice grip, coming downhill, the back gives you a nice grip. And so far, I have found that it is particularly durable. I don't think these lugs are going to wear down particularly quickly, and like I said, I have been wearing them on the road quite a bit as well, and it doesn't seem to have any sort of issues, like I said, with the rocks and stuff like that, really penetrating and doing too much damage or lasting damage to this sole. So I think this will last a long time. Like I said, I've done well over 100 miles, a few months in this shoe, and I have no issues with the sole whatsoever. Now let's talk about the performance overall. I have had, like I've already mentioned a couple of times, plenty of opportunity to test this out and really give it a run for its money. I have found this shoe performs better than any other barefoot minimalist trail running shoe I have tried. It offers the most tick list boxes for kind of barefoot shoes that you could possibly want, whilst still getting that small compromise of having a sole that allows you to run fast on rock without absolutely destroying the bottom of your feet. I love the big wide toe box. This is one of the wider toe boxes, unless you get an Ultra, which is fairly similar shape, and actually I found that some of these TOPO shoes are actually almost a bit wider. The really snug fit around the heel and the midsole make it really comfortable to run on, even when you're running on slanted ground, which I tested again in this run. I went up a hill one way, come back down the same way, so I had some really nice, well, not nice, slanted ground going all the way, so I didn't have any blisters or wears. It really does hug your feet nicely. Like I've said, it kicks you off the ground, so you get that nice ground feel, and you still have quite a bit of flexibility in this forefoot and the shoe in general, so it doesn't feel like you're wearing this big, heavy, clumpy, horribly restrictive shoe, which is the main thing I don't like about wearing kind of bigger trainers. This does feel light on your foot, and it feels comfortable, and I think that's the biggest thing for me. So, in conclusion, I think this is one of the best shoes you can get, especially for the price. It comes in at $125, so 120-ish pound, which is a really affordable price for a really good shoe with some really, really good spec. I think if you are, like me, a kind of barefoot advocate and you wear a lot of kind of Vivo barefoot, stuff like that all the time, and you really want to get that feel like you're wearing something barefoot style, but just protect the bottom of your feet, this is what I would go for. Specifically the Runventure 4, I looked at a lot of the other models as well. This is the only one with a 0 mil heel to toe drop. If you want a bit more of a heel to toe drop and a bit more of that kind of cushion, then they have options for that as well. But for me, if you are that person, if you're the barefoot guy, this is your option, this is your crossover, and I think that's pretty much the biggest praise I can give it. So yeah, if you want a really solid workhorse of a shoe, then I think you should try this out. And that is it for today's review. If you found this video useful, please drop me a like and hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch more of these kind of barefoot minimalist style shoe reviews. Everything from boots to wear to town to trail running extravaganzas like this. So please give me a follow, a like and a subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. See ya.